Hello and welcome to our show. Today we have the Lucas family represented here, and we have Mrs. Edna McCullough Lucas and her two daughters, Pauline Lucas Griffith and Erma Lucas Gebhart. Mrs. Lucas, you came from kind of a Scotch-Irish background there, the name McCullough. Now, was it your grandparents that came over first to Ohio?
That's right.
Can you tell us where they came from?
And they came from Belfast, Ireland, on their wedding anniversary, or just after they was married. Came over to the United States. They came by boat to New York, and then from there to Mimosburg on the train, and then from the train they walked out to 741 now, where their friends lived. And
so they had to walk from the train because they were so new they didn't even have a horse yet. What was the date of this? About when did they come over?
I think in 1871.
1871.
And they spent some of their early life, in Miami Township before they came to Washington Township.
Now, you had mentioned before that your father, Hugh McCullough, was born in a log cabin. Where was that log cabin located?
It was located up near, across the Normandy Lane.
From Normandy Lane?
On
the Miller farm there?
On the Miller farm there.
Well, that's long
They was with the Miller farm, or Miller family, in Miami Township, and then they came to Washington Township then.
All right. And they settled or bought a farm down on Yankee. Can you tell us something about that farmhouse? I believe we have a picture of it as it was about when they moved in. I think they can show that, and then I'm going to show another picture of that farmhouse. Now, as we look at that farmhouse, on the left, you say that's your mother and father, Hugh and Bertha Wilson McCullough. And then on the right are your grandparents, the one who came from Ireland.
That's right.
Alex McCullough and Jane McCullough. All right, I have a picture here now, too, of a barn of that same farm, and I believe your grandmother, that would be Jane McCullough's in this picture, the woman in the long skirt, and one of the boys on the fence without the hat is your
Father,
Hugh.
and then my grandfather's standing there with the wagon also.
Okay, and this was the barn with that farm on Yankee.
I think the two pictures was taken at the same time.
All right. So we get an idea what it looked like. Now, you, when your father, Hugh, married, who did he marry?
Bertha Wilson.
Bertha Wilson. And Wilson is an old name in our community, isn't it?
That's right.
You said that had something to do with the property right where this TV studio is located. Can we trace that a little bit? Maybe Erma and Pauline can help us trace the Wilson connection there.
Of course, it goes back many generations, but then it's still in the family.
From Clarence to
Albert,
Wilson, Samuel,
John Sutton.
He was the Baptist minister.
That's right. And Daniel. And
Now,
Daniel was the one that lived on this property.
He lived on this property. And he had a big farm here?
Yes. And I believe they moved the spring house from here down to the Stubbs Park.
All right. I remember that old spring house when I came here in 1961. I believe the spring is still functioning down there by the stoplight. If people ever want to just look, you can see the runoff. All right, farm life was rather interesting for your family. Here's two girls that grew up on the farm, and their mother, who grew up on a farm that had no mechanization as a girl. Did you have any tractors or?
No, everything was done with horses and by hand.
I have a picture of some horses here somewhere. Here they are. Now, there's 4 horses in this picture, and you said your father and your brother. And this is all the horses he had, 4 horses?
They had some more horses besides what's shown in the picture.
How did they use these horses?
Well, some was by transportation, as by horse and buggy, and the rest was used on the farm for the farm work.
Farm work. Did you have to do much farm work as a girl?
Well, I did most of what came along.
What were some of the chores that you would have to do?
Well, one thing was carrying in wood because we used it for heat and for cooking also. And we gathered the eggs. That meant that the chickens wasn't housed like they do now.
So your chickens ran free. How did you find eggs if they're just laying them all over?
Well, just hunted them, that's what we called them. We went from place to place where we expected to find them.
All right, when you were growing up on Yankee, I have a picture here of the house you lived in. Now, where was this house in relation to your grandparents' house, the ones who came from Ireland?
It was just across the road from where the barn was shown, on the opposite side.
Okay, so you could run right across that road and see your grandparents?
Oh, that's right. And lots of times we slipped over there to get some goodies.
Goodies.
Although when I first lived there, it was just a form room house, and later they added on the other 2 rooms to the.
All right. How many children did you have?
We had 4 children, or 5 children rather. The 4 living and 1 was stillborn.
All right. These girls, were they older or younger than the brothers?
They were older. Pauline was the oldest, and Erma, and Chester and Dale.
All right. When you were growing up in that house, where did you go to school?
Went to district number 8. Was located on 725 in the corner of McEwen Road.
At McEwen, all right. There's not a sign of it there anymore. It's been all developed. But you brought some wonderful things from your school days. And didn't you say something about your mother also did a little teaching?
Yes, she was taught the district number 7. That was on south on Yankee Street, near where the Dayton Power and Light plant is.
Oh, down there. All right. It's number 7. We have very few of the schoolhouses left. And you were at number 8. And later in life, schoolhouse number 8 was important to you. Before you got married.
Oh, yes, I taught 1 year there, and then I finished half a year at Union High.
All right, so you and your mother did a little teaching. All right, this is a wonderful thing you brought. A teacher gave you this, and her picture is on the front. I've never seen anything like this from any school. This is a teacher in a 1-room schoolhouse, and it has little poems in it. And when I open it, what are those dates in there? 1905
and
1906. And her name was
I forget her first name, Caldwell was her last name.
Ethel Caldwell.
Yeah, Ethel.
And the part I like best is all the students in your one-room schoolhouse are listed here. And there's a lot of names that I recognize on there.
Several in one family.
The Millers. I see a Gebhart even here. Maybe that's McEwen. There's 2 or 3 McEwens. And Edna McCullough and Clarence McCullough. Is that your brother?
That's right.
That's a wonderful little booklet. I never realized teachers in the one-room schoolhouse gave out things. Then you have this other book, Pansies for Thoughts. And who gave you this book?
Well, we called her Miss Della. It was Miss Della Pine, and she married Byron Himes, and she's Celia Elliott's mother.
She's a poet herself. I know she gave you a book of poetry.
I don't think she wrote what's in this book, though. I think it's just a book.
And this date is 1908. That was very nice. Teachers were very thoughtful in those days. All right, as you grew up and raised your own family in the same house that you had grown up in?
Yes, my family.
Yeah, these girls.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
No.
Not the one you grew up in.
No, you moved into your grandparents'
Yeah.
house. Okay.
Where they were.
The old one. Now that house is still standing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but the one you lived in when you were young is been torn down. Okay.
That's right.
Now we have some pictures here. I don't know how well they'll show up, but it shows a picture that I think is very interesting. It happens to be, who is that? We're showing a horse. It looks like a workhorse. It's got his harness on and everything, and there's 2 little girls with farm hats on.
Oh, that's Pauline and Erma and the father.
Pauline and Erma. And that's your husband with them?
That's right.
I see he has boots on. Looks pretty muddy. All right, there was another picture that it's not of you girls, but it shows something that your husband must have been very thoughtful of his children. You didn't have ponies, but what did you have?
Calves.
They trained them to train the calves.
They did.
Daddy, he made the harness and the wagon. They'd ride around with them.
Did you get to ride in it?
Probably. I don't really remember.
Do you remember, Polly?
I don't remember riding in it, but they had a lot of fun.
The boys must have kept you out. Okay. You have a lot of pictures here of farm things, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about where you girls went to school and what you did, how you helped your mother. Pauline, where did you two go to school?
We went to Washington Township, Centerville School, 12 years in one building.
12 years in one
There was about a little over 300 pupils in the whole 12 years.
And when was this?
Oh, I started in 1928, I think it was, up to 40 when I graduated.
All 12 grades. Erma,
Oh, I did the same, only I started the year after she did.
you're a year apart.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the sports that you girls did, or what did you do in school?
Well, in high school, I played basketball. We were all 4 of us in the band, and chorus, and things like that.
What instruments did you play?
Oh, I played the trombone.
I played clarinet,
Then we had, our one brother played the trumpet, and the other one played drums.
Oh, Mrs. Lucas, with all that practicing in your home.
It was a big house, though.
A big house. What subjects did you really enjoy, and what teachers? Maybe some we know.
Oh, well, we had Margaret Delaney and Caroline Burnett and Polly Albertson. No, we didn't have her.
No, the boys did.
She started. Well, she
Ruth
was there.
Barnett,
Right.
Willabom now.
Carolyn Watkins.
Yeah, we got her.
Well, we had Mr. Burruff,
Okay.
Gilbert Burruff,
He was principal.
Tom Seal.
We started under W.A. Driscoll as a superintendent, and then Mr. Seitz come in, and then Mr. Stingley.
So you were under Stingley, too?
Yes.
Mhm. He was superintendent and principal?
Well, he was superintendent. I think we had somebody else as principal then.
All right, when you were graduating, did you graduate at the school or
Oh, that was always at the town hall.
always at the town hall?
Always at the town hall. All the plays and all the musicals and the Christmas programs were all at the town hall.
How did you girls get to school?
Rode the school bus.
Yeah.
What kind of a bus was it?
It was a wooden bus, wooden frame bus, the old Model T, wasn't it?
I think so.
And they had high school students as the drivers.
That's different.
Oh,
Had
quite
benches on
different.
each side.
Yeah.
Benches?
Mm-hmm.
Well, your roads must not have been too good. I don't think they were paved, were they?
No,
Not really.
gravel. And I remember one winter there was a huge snow and the buses couldn't make it clear to the one pupil's home, so they had to get out and walk.
But we did have buses, though, kind of like they have now when we were.
Yeah,
we were before we graduated.
that was
they'd
when we
moved up.
started.
You improved.
Right,
Improved.
right.
Not as much fun.
No.
All right, you two used to get in a little difficulty once in a while around the farm. What were some of the things you did that were, kind of fun, but probably not approved by your mother?
Oh, well, you can tell that.
Oh, winding the twine string around the corn crib. We got in trouble with that. And
She crawled through a fence one time and played in soot. Her daddy had cleaned out the stovepipes. She put it all over her face.
Oh, girls.
That wasn't me.
no, that was me.
And then they got in their daddy's grease bucket one time and
Oh, to grease the tractor? Oh, dear.
put it all over her.
Did you have chores like the boys on the farm? What were some of the things you did when you got home from school?
Well, since we were the oldest, we did the chores first, and when we were old enough, we each had a cow we had to milk, and see, what else did we do?
Oh, the tobacco. We had to plant and hoe
That was
and
later.
strip tobacco. And then sometimes we'd help in the field to shock the wheat. And then they'd go through the cornfields after they cut the corn, and we'd have to pick up the loose ears and throw them on the wagon.
Well, we did everything that you did on the farm, and we raised corn and wheat and hay, and so we always had to help do all that. Plant tobacco, we did that. Then we helped strip it in the wintertime. And
Did you like
were
working
busy.
with the tobacco?
not particularly, but it was there to do, so you did it.
Did it smell bad?
No?
Well, I thought it did. So I've never liked the smell of tobacco.
But that was a cash crop, I guess,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
an important crop. What jobs did you have? Raising 4 children on a farm, a farm wife really had a great deal to do. What were some of your daily jobs?
Well, getting the meals for one thing, and I helped milk and took care of the milk after it was brought in the house. We separated it.
You separated the milk?
To get the cream from it. We kept the skim milk and fed it to the hogs, and I took care of the chickens and worked in the garden and yard. And then after they started the school, high school especially, I went to the fields and rode the tractor,
Oh, you rode the tractor.
and did work that way. Just everyday farm work.
How big a farm was this to farm?
It was about 60 acres,
About 60 acres?
but then that's small compared to the way they farm today.
Yeah, but when you're doing it with the equipment of then, it probably took a lot of work.
That's right, and it was slower work. That is, you didn't get over as much ground in a given day. I don't know whether that's about all, I guess.
Well, you girls told me you had a bicycle. A bicycle. Tell me, where did you go on this bicycle?
Well, you could ride on the roads because there weren't that many cars.
Yeah.
And, well, I guess I don't know if we ever got into Centerville or not.
Oh yeah, we'd come to Centerville once in a while. But riding the bicycle in those days, you didn't have to worry about cars, but you had to worry about the dogs.
Oh,
Right.
cars were not a problem,
No,
but
dogs.
dogs.
We'd go over to a girlfriend that lived about a mile away. And you'd know which houses to look out for the dogs.
Yeah, I think that's a problem today on some bikes. People don't tie their dogs up. So there was no traffic. Do you remember the bridge where Yankee came into 725? Some people called it the Great Bridge.
Yes.
Can you describe that a little? What was it made of?
Oh, I think it was that steel bridge?
I think that was, but the first bridge was a very small one, and as you crossed over, then you turned and went up North Yankee was what you, and then after they built the other bridge, they did away with that.
Old bridge.
Yeah, I heard there was, I guess they have to put them across at a certain angle, and if the road comes in at another angle, then the bridge has to go straight across no matter how the road comes.
Mm-hmm.
There were pieces of that old bridge when they widened 725, when they built all of this new development, and I could see steel from that bridge, the Great Bridge, and I noticed it on old maps. When you wanted to go to town, where did you go to town for action, for something interesting? Where did you go?
Well, usually on Saturday evening, everybody would head for Mimasburg, where they would gather on the streets and talk.
The farmers did this?
Farmers did that. They'd go in for their groceries, and then they'd end up in their conversations.
Yeah, the visiting gathering was, although we did come to Centerville several Saturday evenings to get our groceries, and sometimes they had open picture shows that showed on the buildings.
They had picture shows. Where did they show?
On the side of the buildings there on
Side where the Deckers would buy grocery, and
Oh, the one
then
on
went
the
on
corner?
back
Yeah.
on the
Where the
northwest corner.
The fabric store is now?
Yes, and it was kind of like a barn on back further, and then they would show them on that, and you'd sit across the street and watch them.
Do you have to pay for it?
no.
No,
A community picture show.
And
Oh,
then
great.
they expected their treats, go to the ice cream parlor and get their ice cream. That was always a treat for them.
Where was the ice cream parlor?
On the
southeast corner.
Yes.
Which corner?
Southeast corner, where the dentist's
Yes.
office is now.
All right, for the dentist office.
There was a restaurant there.
Okay. You mentioned something about remembering a big horse trough where anyone riding through with their horse on Route 48 or the Lebanon Pike could get water. Where was that?
Well, it was on North Main Street, before you got to where the Mutual Bank is now. And it was on the east side of the street.
By the Gerber house there near that?
It was in that neighborhood.
Oh.
And it was fed by a spring. Water was, the trough was always running over, it seemed like. It was set up on stones, for their foundation, you know. And the people could stop on their journeys to and from
So that was a community,
to water their horses before they continue on with their trip.
you had mentioned something else. We talked about teachers. You taught at Schoolhouse 8, your mother taught at Schoolhouse 7, and you two girls graduated from, and your brothers, from Centerville. Tell me, as we go through your family, how many, we have 4, you and your mother graduated from Centerville, and your father, and you 4. How about any of the grandchildren graduate from Centerville?
All of them.
All of the grandchildren?
All but step-grandsons.
Yeah.
How about great-grandchildren?
Well,
There's 2 in school now.
No, that's a great-great.
Great-great? Oh, I have...
Oh, no, wait a
no,
minute.
you're wrong.
Her,
Grand.
her grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren.
So
Great-grandchildren.
the school system has really seen you through a lot, the Lucas family. You mentioned that your husband had been in the service in World War I.
That's right.
Did he go overseas?
He was overseas, and he served, or he was in service for the St. Di sector, and was it St.
St. Milo or what?
Mitchell or something like that. I can't get the right word right now.
You described some of the utilities, that Yankee didn't have utilities for a long time. Tell us what you used for electricity, or light, I shouldn't say electric. What did you use for lights?
Well, we just had lamps, oil lamps.
Oil lamps.
And for the barn, they used the lanterns, as they call them.
Lanterns.
And carried them with them for their light.
And you mentioned a
Delco system.
Delco system, all right, that had a generator and an Aladdin.
That
lamp.
preceded Dayton Power and Light then.
Okay, and then Dayton Power and Light came.
And then,
Well, it's been interesting hearing about life on Yankee Road on a farm. I'd like to talk more with you girls, but thank you for coming, and thank you for viewing our show.